Okay, so this is to show you how to do your calculation work with your data. So I'm going to first start with the titration results. And when we go back to our titration, we're going back to the concept of M1V1 equals M2V2, right? So these are the titration. I'll put that up there too. Okay, so the molarity of the sodium carbonate was 0.10 molar, and I used 19.1 milliliters of it. I don't know what M2 is, and I know that I had 20.0 milliliters. So again, you've got to know how much you're starting with, because you were probably going to make some adjustments to get the probe to sit down and actually touch the solution. So make sure you know how much you have. But I'm going to go with this. And so when I do my calculation, I'm going to take this, I'm going to move it to this side over here. My M2, when I perform the operation, is going to be 0.096 capital M. Okay. And that's fine and dandy, but we're trying to get everything equal to what you would normally have in the real world. So we're going to take our 0.096, and that's moles per liter. And we're now going to convert that over. So 1 mole of calcium is equal to 40.08 grams of calcium. And I get 3.85 grams of calcium. And at this point, we are simply going to take that and multiply that by 1,000 to get it into our units. And so we have 3,850 ppm of the calcium plus 2. And that's your titration calculations. Okay. And so the water sample was concentrated by a factor of 25. So when we look at our milliliters that we're using, it's by a factor of 25. And so to find out how much we have per parts per million, we're going to divide by 25. And so the true amount of calcium that I had in that sample was 154 ppm. And so when I look at that range that I have, this is hard water. Okay, so then the other part was doing the filtration and all that. And so the reaction mixture was also filtered, precipitate was collected. And so let's say that I have a measurement of 0.68 grams, 8 grams, and that is my filter paper and precipitate. And my filter paper weighs 0.504. So when I take the difference of that, I had 0.184 grams of precipitate. I will now take the 0.184 grams of precipitate, and I'm going to convert it over. So calcium carbonate, because that's what I had in there from the reaction, those two. When I perform that operation, I get this number. Then I will take that number that I just obtained and it's a 1-to-1 ratio. So we're going to multiply by the molar mass of it, and I get 0.0737 grams calcium plus 2. Now, I need to figure out what that means. So I have grams of calcium and 0.0737. So okay, so look at those numbers. They're fairly consistent. So I'm going to do the same thing I did earlier. I'm going to divide by 25. And I'm going to get 147 parts per million for my sample size. So based on this, the two tests are similar. Okay. So one thing I'll point out is it's going to be dependent upon what you guys have for this. Okay. Because how much milliliters I have is going to determine my step here. This will be the same for everybody here. So hopefully you're producing something along the lines that looks like this. Okay? Great job. Live long and prosper.